Okay, the time looks like it has arrived and the light is on. So we will call this meeting to order. Paul, certification of open meeting laws.
Yes. Many times.
Many times, yep. Adoption of an agenda for today.
I'll make a motion to approve the 20-item agenda.
I'll second.
Any correct comments, corrections, adjustments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried. We get into the public comment period. Oh, wait, no, we got minutes first. Anybody?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions? Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now, we'll get into the public comment period. Members of the public will have a 15-minute block of time to comment on today's agenda items. Members may be present in person or call in to make such comments. To comment by telephone, please call 715-538-1894. Public comment may be extended or curtailed at the discretion of the committee board chair after advisement by the board. Is there anybody here in person to comment on our agenda today? Jeannie?
Is the packet in the committee packets area? I can't seem to find it
Packet for,
Yep.
for this committee.
it should have been, I was even able to find it.
I'm just looking for the packet for the exec finance. I have personal bargaining, arts, human services, criminal justice, youth nursing, ad hoc. No exec finance.
Well, she's not a part of the committee, so that would be accepted to her. She'd have to go on the website to find her.
Oh, I do it.
Yeah.
So I do it. Yep, website.
We changed that so all county board supervisors could be the packets.
No.
I think we can go, she's not part of the meeting anyway.
Right, yeah, so, okay, that's your comment, you can find it. I don't think that would be on the agenda for today, it's something possible you can bring up at,
I'm just throwing that out.
yep, okay.
That every
Oh,
county board supervisor get all the packets from the meetings.
Something for
As long as they don't
discussion,
mail 'em.
probably at full county board, I'm guessing, well, or probably here at a later date.
I'll ask Tim.
Yeah, okay. Okay, moving on, we'll leave it open for now, just in case there's a call coming in, I don't see anything. Moving on, the county sales tax update.
here we go. The December collection was $234,913.50, bringing us to $2,295,432.01, which is only $4,567.99 short of our budget, and we have 2 months to go.
Okay.
And if you look at the two months prior, 170 and 340, that's 510,000. So,
$500,000.
Anybody have any other questions about that? Okay, thanks, Paul. General fund update.
there's no change, it's still at 2,948,213.09.
Okay. Any questions? I guess, thank you for that. Department requests, quarterly update with Ann Hempel.
Yeah.
Did everyone get my report? It's kind of always generally the same thing, but there are a few things I want to point out. I was awarded the $54,584 base budget grant. I got that email just last week, and then this strategic initiative grant, I was awarded $10,000. And then the training grant, I was awarded $1,000. That's on page 2. I'm collecting any annexations and will be submitting them to the state in January. And then I'm starting the statewide data collection that's due in March. And then I have an update on our 2023 aerial flight. We received them in-house and we are getting them uploaded onto our new website. That should be soon. And then I have just some numbers for our GIS maintenance and data creation on page 3. That's from December 2022 to December 2023. I did have a few extra projects that came in. I assisted land management and will be assisting land management with zoning maps for the township meetings. I'm working with the Village of Strum for their trail maps, so they can have those posted online. And I am assisting the highway department with bridge maps. And then I have a real property lister report he put in the last 4 years of documents that have come across his desk. One thing to note is the numbers have gone down. And then I did include a snippet on the real property lister being involved in the legislative information, the 2023 Act 12. I don't remember if you guys remember him coming down here and talking about Act 12. And then I have his other Wisconsin 292, 289, changes the way notice of assessments are distributed, school district boundary legislation, and Wisconsin DOR, state and local finance subgroup, finished revisions to Chapter 7. The other thing is our real property lister, Nick Gamroth, has been he was nominated to take part on the WLIA board, which is Wisconsin Land Information Board, so.
Did he accept?
He accepted the nomination, but now we have to vote, we'll see. We will be attending our conference in late February this year, and that's when we'll find out if he got elected.
More than likely.
Yep. Everyone was very pleased with his hard work on Act 12, so. And then I just put on the back, our most popular websites and how many times they've been touched by the public, looked at, viewed, accessed. Is there any questions on my report?
Very good again. Yeah,
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'll just make note, I see you have a very complimentary letter.
Yes, yes.
Yep, I thought I'd just put a little positive thing at the end.
that's
An
nice.
email I got from someone in the public who appreciated our new website.
Any other questions for him? Not? Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. Paul Severson with the quarterly update.
Okay, I have 2 new deputies in my office. Dawn Abrahamson, which is, she's taking the minutes now, and Holly Marsalic. And the trainings are going well. They're doing very good in the office, so that's a good thing. For 2023, we had 135 marriage licenses, which is the lowest I've had in 35 years.
Really?
Yes. So, and in regards to elections, we do not have a February primary in Trempealeau County, so there will be no election. But we're getting ready for April already. And last Friday, we got a phone call from RCU. They had done an audit and found that they were not charging the right interest rate for the county's checking account that's interest bearing.
Charging or paying?
They, well, here's the good news. They weren't paying enough, so.
Oh, okay, okay.
They deposited into our checking account $51,000 of interest that they didn't calculate correctly.
Okay, good.
And they said they found it from an audit that they had done.
Like those problems.
So when we get to that part with the funds for renovation, you can kind of keep in the back of your mind, there's another $51,000 that'll go on that.
Yep.
And that's about it for my report.
Okay. Next item up is the transfer fund from the, from general fund to sheriff's office to support the county radio tower project.
We're always transferring there.
Was Brett supposed to be here to talk about that?
I thought so. I've got the resolution and the law enforcement committee has already signed it.
And I believe he talked to us about that a while back, did he not?
And I think it should have been in your packets too. But, yeah,
That there was an issue with the the last 3 months or 2 months or something like that on the tower rents? That was gonna
Yep.
have to be adjusted?
Do you want
Yeah,
me
they were
to-
here to,
do you have,
You
I'll
could,
give you this one, 'cause this one we'll need signed.
Why don't you just read it?
that might have been what he's thinking, he's already done it.
that could be.
No, he knew it.
Oh, he did. I seen him when I come in, so he's here.
Or can't find his way back.
I don't blame him.
Can't find his way back.
With that, I will read the resolution and then we'll see what happens from there. Transfer from county's general fund to sheriff's office support account 52160. Whereas Trempealeau County Emergency Services is in the process of upgrading its equipment at current tower sites and constructing an additional tower. Whereas the current system includes contracts with the United States Cellular, parentheses, U.S. Cellular, for the rent and use of 5 U.S. cellular cell towers with those contracts in effect until May of 2026. Whereas a 6th tower will be located at a Pigeon Falls site. Whereas the construction project requires new or upgraded equipment to be added to the towers at all 6 sites, and the new upgraded equipment will result in increased contract costs beginning on or about December 1, 2023. Whereas those 5 current contracts will need to be amended to reflect the additional costs of a new contract will be needed for a Pigeon Falls site. Whereas for the 5 current contracts, the county has paid the required amounts through May 31, 2024, but it will need to enter into new contracts with new terms beginning June 1, 2024. Whereas this project will result in increased contract costs beginning December 1, 2023, with the prorated amount due through May 31, 2024 as follows. Independence Whitehall, $2,777.75. Pigeon Falls, $8,700. Blair, 0. Arcadia, $1,500. Ettrick, 0. Galesville, $1,500 for a total of $14,477.75. Whereas the 2024 budget for the sheriff's office includes the costs of the 6 U.S. cellular contracts, but the amount, excuse me, of $14,477.75 is now due, and a 2023 payment of that amount from the general fund will be necessary. And now be it resolved that the Trempealeau County Board of Supervisors hereby approves the transfer of $14,477.75 from the county's general fund to account number 101.52160.530 for the purpose of funding the county's radio tower project. Introduced by Law Enforcement Committee. I think everybody signed it. The whole committee has signed it, yes.
I'll move for approval.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, motion second. Now we can discuss. Any questions, anything based on the conversation with the sheriff sometime back, I don't remember when, it was going to be a necessary thing to keep the radio equipment functioning, so I don't see an option other than to move on with it.
Does anybody know why Pigeon is so much more? Jim? No?
John, I didn't hear what you said.
I was just wondering why Pigeon's so much more than everybody else. Maybe it's because never had equipment at all, it's all new equipment on it, I don't know.
Isn't that where the new one went?
Well, there was no new tower, they're just renting there too.
Okay,
We saved some money because they didn't have to build the tower.
okay. It probably then included more equipment if it hasn't been used before.
Probably. It might even have to have a generator, I don't know.
So, well, what do we want to proceed with approving this, or do we want to set aside till we have more discussion?
I think it can be approved. It's not much you can do about it, and it's something that's needed. Pigeon didn't have any reception at all there, so.
Agree, move to.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Any other discussion on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Carry. Okay, next item. Approve 3 new positions in Human Services Department.
Good morning, I'm hoping everybody
Morning.
got the packet, the documents that I had sent out.
Bridget.
All 3 different times, I think.
It was 3 different times. I have to apologize, it was my first resolution, so I'm I'm a rookie, so I had to have a lot of help, and eventually Susan helped me get it figured out. But to condense it, we are looking to add 3 positions in human services, 2 social worker/caseworker positions to help with mental health services and the children's waiver services, so children's long-term support, kids with disabilities, and then also a contracting and provider network specialist. So we've got a lot of unmet tasks right now as far as the contracting and compliance goes and we have, I can't even count how many contracts we have. We probably have in excess of 100 contracts. And many of them are Medicaid contracts, and if we don't have the compliance piece handled and verified, we could get in trouble down the road without having that compliance. So all 3 of these positions are built into our rates, and so they would be fully funded. The wages, the benefits, any equipment needed are fully funded through the state funding right now. And what we did, and to be honest, I didn't know we needed a resolution prior to this, so until David Orsh had asked me about that. So because this has gone through the Human Services Board, they've approved the action, as has personnel bargaining. So I'll be taking this back to Human Services tonight to get the signature on their signatures on the resolution. So those are those pieces, but they're fully funded positions. We have waiting lists right now in Human Services for these services, and the state prohibits waiting lists for these services. So I'm here to ask for us to be able to. The idea would be for us to recruit and advertise in February, and then hire in March, and then we'd be able to get them up and running then at that point. So didn't know if anyone has any questions or anything you wanted me to clarify.
The only question I think David asked those is, how long are they funded for? We
Yeah,
don't
it's
know.
Medicaid funding, so it's built into the program that the feds and the state have in place for folks with mental health needs and folks with disabilities too. So there's no end date.
There isn't an end date,
No,
so-
no.
okay.
So he did ask, if that funding were for some reason to go away, which if Medicaid funding went away, that'd be the majority of the federal budget, so.
Right.
But then would we be able to look at how would we reduce the number of those
Right.
positions?
Right.
And so I did address that in there. I mean, we would look at, would there be alternate funding sources, or would we have vacancies that they could move into, that would be appropriate for those
Oh,
folks.
right,
You know,
okay.
otherwise, if not, then we would look at eliminating those positions, yes.
I think that's the only thing I had.
Jay?
Yes.
I don't have the figures, but I do remember in our Human Services meeting that you gave us the figures on how many children are waiting to be seen for services.
Yes.
Could
Yeah.
you give that info to this committee?
Right. I did send that in the packet, and that is currently, or at last count, I should say, because it obviously changes. But I have 47 folks on the waiting list. Well, 47 people on the waiting list, both adults and kids, for either mental health services or kids with disabilities. And right now, I believe it's, let's see, it was 19 kids with disabilities, 8 children with mental health needs, and then 14 adults that were currently on the waiting list, and then we were screening some additional folks.
So with 2 new case managers, will this cover those people
That would be
that
the
you have on the
idea.
waiting list? Or will you have a little bit of buffer to take on new cases? Where
There
are you
won't
at
be a
with
lot of
that?
buffer to take on new cases. This will basically take care of our waiting lists, and so that we'll be able to provide services to those folks. Now, some of these services are not intended to be, you know, the CCS program. People do cycle in and out of that program, but whether they're in CCS or CSP, there are 2 different types of mental health services. Most likely, they're going to be in one or the other long-term, so. Good question, though. Other questions?
It was 3 people, not 2, 3 people here, 3 positions, right?
3 positions, one's a contracting position, and then 2 would be more the social work caseworker position.
I don't believe we got a motion before we started, did we?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, okay, then, yep, yeah. John, and you seconded, didn't you?
Do you have who's,
Okay. Oh, maybe I'm back on another motion. Okay, well, then we need a motion to actually start talking about it.
I'll make that motion.
John, or do you want credit for it?
either way, I don't care.
And the other one second?
Either way.
Pick your poison. Okay. Any other discussions? This might be a little sidelight of it, but I did ask you this the other day when we met in the hall. The vacant position at the moment,
Mhm.
would that, if it was filled, have been taking up some of this waiting list?
The vacant position is in youth diversion
Okay.
right now, so that would be a different, completely
Okay.
different. And it's that one's grant funded, and
Okay.
it's
Okay.
a little bit different thrust or component, I guess I'd
Okay.
say. Yeah.
Jay, if say 6 months from now, all of a sudden you will have another 40-some cases on a wait list, is that funding, could you potentially add another position or 2 more positions, and it would be, is there a limit on what the state and the feds will fund?
No, because the state projects based on what their historical enrollment has been in these programs. So they look forward and say, okay, so what's that gonna be projecting forward for the next year or 2 years? And especially since it's a biennial budget, you know, that they would look forward 2 years. So, so they work with the feds on that. And it's the states, basically, when you look at Medicaid funding, and it just roughly, the federal government contributes 60% of Medicaid, and the state is roughly responsible for 40%. So, so they're projecting based on their 40%, and they do look forward to that. So, yeah, they've said, hey, we've got the money, you know, add your positions as you need to, because you're not supposed to have waiting lists. And we have been in contact. What they've done to this point, because they can penalize counties financially and in other ways as well, if we're not complying with the contract that we've signed to provide these services with them, and it's part of our overall state and county contract. They've not done that to this point because they're working directly with the counties that do have wait lists. to say, hey, what are the issues? Can we help you work through them? You know, they're trying to be collaborative, but at the end of the day, because it's a Medicaid program and people are really entitled to these services from the government standpoint, they could penalize us at some point if we don't, if we do continue to have wait lists. So, like I say, we have them to this point, and we're trying to work with them to say, here are the different things we're doing, but they are asking us.
Do you anticipate you'll be able to fill these positions, or is that another issue?
That is a good question, and we've changed some of the qualifications on our entry-level qualifications on these positions, which I think is widening our candidate pool. And so I'm more encouraged than I would have been maybe a month or two ago.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions? No, I guess we'll call for a vote on this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. I guess you got 3 new people to find.
All right, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Next item is salaries of elected officials.
Well,
Open
it's
for
that
discussion.
time again. Every
Yep.
4 years, you do the county clerk, treasurer, and register of deeds. You did coroner, sheriff, and clerk of courts 2 years ago. So every 2 years, you have one of the 2 groups. So we're just here, ready to see if you're going to select salaries or whatever for the next elected. It has to be done before nomination papers go out, which means it has to be done before the March County Board meeting. And Rose has some ideas.
What I have is based on what we did before, how it was set
Okay,
before.
that's a good start.
The question I have is, do you want to do this, or are we being referred to the county administrator, or how, what, I guess I'm asking the committee, what do you want us to do?
We've done it in the past. I think we can do it one more time, so we get an administrator.
Corp counsel can
What did
maybe
we
help
do?
us out here too, but I believe that's our responsibility, not the administrators, isn't it?
I believe it is. I'm actually pulling up 5922 as we speak.
And this also has been going to personnel bargaining. So later this month, they'll have it on their agenda also.
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday? Okay.
So,
Okay, do
tell
you
us
want-
what you got and we'll take it from, see where we go from there.
Okay, okay, let's see what we have here.
Do you know what we did with law sheriff, clerk of court?
Did we do 288?
Right, they based on what we did the years
Yeah.
before.
2.88 is what,
They did on
That's what we did with the sheriff.
sheriff
I
and
didn't hear
coroner
the
and
comments down there.
clerk
What
of
was the
courts, yes.
2.88 about?
And this has got your past on
Oh,
here
okay,
now.
okay.
I didn't bring my glasses, there ain't no way in hell. I
Under
would
here,
take
it
that.
shows
Enough
what
my hearing
we're-
aids in the
we're
repair
at.
shop, so.
For the last 4 years.
I gotta watch where I'm going, I guess. So what we did on, when we look at the yellow, that shows what the other county employees received. We use the office, in my office, the chief deputy, because in Lori's office, she's new, and we don't want to use Stacy and Paul's office, so we use my, the chief deputy in my office, kind of as a benchmark. So based on what she received in 2021 was .02724, and then 22 is .03, and 23, that's when the job study was done, so then she was bumped up to .072. And 2024 is where we have a question. We don't really know what to do there. Her step increase is .025, but we're not sure what you're giving for the COLA or the cost of living. So we couldn't get that percentage. We used that percentage of 75 cents. I think it was around 2% for us, or 1.9, I think is what we used. So that would be the only thing that we really aren't real sure of. So then as you're moving down, then the first 2 years, you'll see that our offices were about, 109 more than what the other employees received in the courthouse, and that would have been in 2021. And then in 2022, we were like $25 ahead. And then in 2023 is when our departments fell behind, and then again in 2024. So that's what we used as a basis for that average, that .0435. If you see under the 4-year average, it's still in that yellow. That's what we did. We took the 4-year average, and that's what we used for the percentage. So, and then in the green, in 2024, if we would have gotten what everybody else received, the county clerk would have been 85,631, and the register of deeds and treasurer would have been 82,976. And then we just extended through 25, 26, 27, and 28 based on that .04356. So when they set the salaries for the county, the clerk of court and the sheriff, they use that point, or that 2.88, because that's what the average was last time for us. And I've attached the resolutions showing what they had done in the past. So that's, since 2016, they started doing it that way, where they would just base it on what the percentage on the other employees in the courthouse received. So that's where these numbers came from.
First question I have is, if in the past it has started with personnel bargaining, is this committee the proper place for the first discussion, or should it go there first and come back here? Just asking.
I think it's been done both ways.
Okay.
There was a time when the exec finance and the personnel bargaining did a joint meeting, and that's how we did it. But the last time we brought it to this committee first, and then we were referred.
George Brandt on
Yeah, that's 4 years ago.
here.
I think we started out with this one, and maybe you referred us there. I'm not really sure. We've always started here because we want your opinion as what you want us to do, because you're our committee.
This is our standing committee also.
Yeah.
That's-
So,
But looking at that resolution before, personnel bargaining acted on it in January, and this committee met in February. So,
okay.
just looking at the time frame anyway. So what, like Rose says, we thought we'd start here to
Okay. Just,
give an inkling of an idea
Or what you
when
want
we
us to
present
do.
to
Yeah.
personnel bargaining.
anybody? Anybody dare talk?
Dare talk.
It seems like we did 2% in the past.
2.88.
Oh. I guess I'm going to the last page here. It says,
Oh, right, and then, right, that's where they did, yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Percent at that point, and then.
Oh, that was the 4 years before,
Yeah.
prior.
Was any of this in the proposed new budget or the current budget that we passed?
This won't take
This
effect till
won't
next year
take,
anyway.
right, till 25.
Okay, so
Yeah.
2025, okay. Answer to that.
No, this wouldn't start till the next budget cycle.
everybody speak at once.
I guess my only comment was, how do we compare? Are we pretty competitive? Paul, you probably know that answer.
Well, I guess our presentation is just saying so that we stay even with the rest of the employees in the county is, and I guess I haven't done a study on other counties.
But you haven't got COLA included in your percent.
We
don't
do.
get-
Oh.
Well, in our proposal.
Yes, we do. That's what my question was, what you want us to do there. Because that would bring that percentage down if you want us to remove the 75 cents.
So this is a true 2.88 all the way to 2028.
No,
No,
This is a 4.
this,
it's 4 to catch us up, because if you looked at that sheet, the last 2 years of, which would be the 23 and 24, how we fall behind the rest of the county.
What was the percentage we did for sheriff and clerk court?
2.88,
2.88?
yep.
So that's basically what this would be if we did a 2.88. Would that work? So we're at least
That would be
consistent with all.
That would be the same for the first 2 years of the term, which is what the last 2 years of sheriff.
But that don't catch you up.
It's at that point where we'll fall behind again.
so then the sheriff and the clerk of court would have to catch up again, because now they're falling behind.
It's a vicious cycle.
It's hard because you need to set those salaries 4 years ahead of time.
Yeah, yeah.
25.
We're not asking for any more, we're asking for the same.
Yeah.
The 2.88 you're talking about.
That was last
For the
time.
first 2 years, yeah.
Yep.
You're looking for 2.88 for 25 and 26, is that what you're saying?
Well, that'd be the same as the sheriff, clerk of courts, and coroner.
But they're falling
But,
behind.
yeah, that's in their, our first 2 years would be their last 2 years. So that's when they would fall behind.
Yeah, they're already falling behind now. I don't think they do this. I mean, they don't look at what the other employees, they always follow whatever we get, then they ask for the same. They never seem to go through the percentage to see what the other employees receive like we do.
So you'd like us to at least say maybe, or otherwise,
Or at
we
least
got to
give-
move
or-
forward somehow.
Right,
Yeah.
at least give us some idea what you're thinking or what you want us to do. Like I said, that 2024 is where I have a question, because we don't know what the other employees in the courthouse received,
Right,
because the COLA's not decided yet.
right. And let me see, what are we talking about today? Are we talking about? Yeah, I guess we decided to hold off on that COLA until administrator, so doesn't it, wouldn't it make sense that we do both, in my opinion?
But it depends what the timeline is, because our salaries have to be set before we take out papers.
Before the election, before March, yeah,
Correct.
so there isn't time,
Before
is
the end
there?
of March.
So,
That'd have to be one of the first things she does when she gets here.
And the 2.88 keeps you even then?
No,
Or are you still saying you're still falling behind even at that?
Right.
the first 2 years of that 2.88, we were okay, and then the last two, 23 and 24, were falling behind the other employees in the courthouse. depending on what the COLA is in 2024, that's the big question. We don't know how that plays out. Do you want us to put a number in there and then in our next term, try to figure it out or try to even it out? We could do that. It's however you decide you want to do that.
Seems though this is set up as for a four-year term.
It's a 4-year deal. That's the hard part about your.
Year 4 has to be determined prior to papers, right? There's no adjustment after that
Right.
during the whole
Right.
4 years.
Some counties do.
I was just gonna throw that in, because some counties, and I don't know how they do it, because it's not the way the statutes say. They'll put in their resolution that the electeds will get the same as the rest of the employees, and I don't know how that passes, because you don't know what that number is.
I know you answered it already, but the green represents what percentage? That's the two,
The 4, 3, 5, 6.
that's the
right?
4%.
Yeah.
And that's, you're feeling that would catch you up.
To the others, except, like I said, I've included that 2024 75-cent COLA. That's where my question, I don't know if you want to include that or not, because that would bring the percentage down then, if we took that out.
Right.
I don't see the 75 cents happening.
So so what do you think would be a
I would
fair
think
amount?
probably 25 cents might happen, but 75, I just don't see that happening.
I would agree that that's a possibility. The higher number, I do not believe will pass.
So you think like 25 cents or 20? What do you,
Either one is fine with me. It's 25.
25? So we could recalculate that, Paul, then with the 25 cents, so that would bring that percentage down to whatever that percentage is then? How we do it is what is the 25% based on our salaries? So that's how we figure the percentage. We don't take like the chief deputy in my office, I wouldn't see what that percentage is for her. We usually use our salary, so that percentage is lower.
So if we did go back to that 25 cents, and you refigure it, I think I would be a goal with that.
I can see it passing the board at 25 cents, but not the 75. I know why the 75 was done, and I appreciate the employees, but, at some point, we're gonna run into a point where we just can't afford to do this anymore.
You
Lay
folks
off
truly
the
aren't
book.
negotiating for yourselves because you don't know if you're gonna be here or not. I get that.
Right.
Right.
So we could recalculate this
Yes.
then and bring it to personnel. And then
There you go.
You haven't acted on it. You're just giving us a,
How to move forward.
Yeah,
And
I think
That's
I think that's what we
recal,
should do, just refer.
It's not a
recalculated.
huge number to our budget. It's
No.
Right.
$12,000, I think we're looking at, maybe
Right.
total. But
Right.
it all adds up, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
So
we
we'll
figured-
recalculate and bring it to personnel bargaining then.
We figured out it's only
Just-
6
just so I'm-
employees on
I'm-
the whole courthouse. It's pretty
Well,
minor.
Right.
Just so I'm clear, then, we're recalculating at 25 and using that 2.88 number. Is that what we're doing?
No,
No, it'd
we're
be
going
like
back from the 4%.
the
Cutting
4,
back from the
4,
four.
3, 5, 6.
Okay, and that's
Which
for
would be-
all 4 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or-
I would just,
I'm sorry.
I'm
It's
I'm just
calculated.
trying to get it right here.
Yep, and
No.
it's in the green. What the green is
Yep.
what is gonna be changed.
Yep. So,
Is everybody agreed
Do-
that that's
do-
what we should do?
how do I put this? Okay, we're talking the first 2 years, you're comparable to the sheriff's department, right? The
No.
next 2, we don't know about yet, so that could be a different number in our proposal for the 4-year term, right? More or less?
No, the sheriff and the clerk of court already fell behind because their 2 years are where our 2 years right now. So,
I'm not, no, I'm talking about the possibilities, not that the raises could be a different number, different percentage from year 3 to year 4. Or,
No, we
No,
gotta,
we
have to use the same number for 4 years.
Yeah, we have to decide today to go with the same number.
Okay, well,
Well, it seems to me in the past, we've gone like 2 years at such and such, and then less than this, 2 years, or.
more than 2, that's what I'm saying,
It seems like
you know.
we've had various first 2 years, or has it always been the same every year?
Well, it
Same
used to be
For us,
2-year.
it has been the same for all
Because
4
it
years.
used to be 2-year terms at one time.
Yeah, the one
No,
that's,
that was the other
the
thing.
example in here has 2.88,
And that was the average of.
the
what-
last time, right.
Correct. And that was the average of what the other employees got. So that's what we've always done, is gone.
And the same thing happened the time before that, it was at 2% across the board, right? Yeah.
Is
But
that
they're
what we want to do?
falling
We wanna-
further and further
What?
behind.
What's that?
Even at the 2.88, they're falling further and
But-
further behind.
But we're gonna go with the 3 point.
The,
3.6.
yeah, what number did you have, Paul?
Well, we have it's right on.
Ask for
the
4.
Very top, right above the green. That's the number. There,
But if you recalculate,
4.356%.
If we recalculate, it'll be less than that.
It'll be down a little bit, yes.
But you gotta recalculate that to the 25 cents, right?
Right.
So then we will be close to 4.
Will that be satisfactory, though? You-
Yeah, that would be fine. We want what everybody else in the courthouse
Okay.
gets. We don't want any more. We want the same.
So do we want to firm this up with that, or do we want to just send it back to personnel bargaining to look at with the 25 instead of the 75?
I would suggest we just send it to personnel bargaining with that recommendation, if we use that,
Okay.
you know. and then-
Sounds good to me.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Is that a motion?
Any,
Yeah, I'll make that
I think that was a motion from
Oh,
John.
we do want a motion on it?
I'll make a motion, yeah.
I actually, on the agenda, just didn't put discussion and action. I just did salaries. So it was just really a discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
To find out what you wanted us to do.
Okay, well, so we don't need a
We don't want a
motion?
motion.
If it only says discussion, then you can't have a motion. You could bring it back next month and
Okay.
then vote on it.
Okay,
That-
then
that
we'll
would
just-
be in
Okay,
the-
then we'll
Okay.
take those back off and say we're sending it to personnel bargaining to look at with our recommendation of using 25 cents instead of the 75.
Agreed.
Agreed? Okay,
Okay,
that's where we'll go with that.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Resolution recommending the updating of ordinance for the county administrator.
That's you.
It is. I have updated, or actually they're the same as I sent out, but I have copies of the memo as well as the ordinance. So if anybody needs any, I will deliver those first.
Is there any changes to the one you sent out in December? I mean,
Not at the,
Okay.
at the end of December, no.
okay.
But does anybody need a copy?
Yes.
Okay.
That isn't this one?
It should be, and I brought a whole bunch if you want it. So
Oh,
there's-
okay, if you need a compare and see what,
Yeah.
okay.
The one dated December, correct?
Yes.
This one?
Yeah, the one that I had sent out at the, right before the turn of the new
Right.
year. So it should be, otherwise, if we get through it, I have lots of other copies. This one you can have, the other one you can't. There you go. So just going through this, when the county had voted to have an administrator, there were a number of changes that needed to go into effect that really largely affected not only just the county administrator coordinator, but also the role of the county board. So the purpose of these are to really effectuate what that vote was. So going, we certainly can go through it one by one. Some of it is up. Some of it is very strictly statutory, and some of it, there's a little bit of discretion. And I think I tried to highlight that in the memo where there was some discretion. And so where you guys want to go with it, if you want to go with human services, if you want to start with 2.04, I'll leave it to you to direct. If you just want to go through questions, that's fine as well.
The only thing I have to ask about pertaining to some discussion you and I have had prior, I'm looking for gray areas in this, of which you seem to think there aren't many. I haven't been to law school, but I have questions. The line 20, starting on line 28 and then 29 on that first page. In the general rules of the, or general duties of the committees. Nothing herein is to be interpreted as restricting the responsibility for all normal and possible added duties of a committee. So, why can't some of these duties you've crossed out be added as additional duties to that?
So, for example, if you were taking a look at county highways, and I did bring chapter
Yep.
83 with me,
Yep.
if anybody wanted to look at that. Some of them are strictly statutory. So if you go through and you take a look at 8301, you take a look at 83015, those transfer, or excuse me, that transfer of those duties, that's statutory. That's not something that the county has the ability to negotiate or really ignore. When the vote was cast, that was the effect. So these are the new normal duties. And I have 83 with me if anybody wants to see it.
Just as I'm paging through, notice things. I haven't gotten to highway yet. I got a couple other ones before we get there. Page 3, line 5, appearing 4 now cross off from 3. It says we have oversight of the county clerk, register deeds, and treasurer's offices, but under our committee over here, we have land records, so I think that has been just accidentally left out.
Yes, that's under 3. Land records is under 3. So 4 is just kind of closing the loop
Okay.
to make sure that you have the rest.
So land records should be added to that, correct?
Land records is under number 3, which is on 2, and it's specifically line 33.
Okay, you lost me.
So,
Yeah, land records.
so if you go to page 2, and then,
It's at the very bottom.
Yep, it says land records are there, but then,
so you have oversight of all of those committee, or all of those departments, and then additionally, you have oversight over the county clerk, register of deeds, and treasurer offices. So you still have the same oversight.
okay,
And-
okay, I see, okay, I caught it now. There, yep, okay.
The page 3, item 11, are we talking about the tech finance, or are we talking about the administrators who's gonna actually formulate a budget?
Mhm.
So why is that crossed off?
So 7 was the original one,
Okay.
and so the 8 is the replacement one. So you're gonna review the prepared budget that she prepares.
Oh, okay. That's why.
Yep.
Okay.
That's the end.
Unfortunately, when you're removing and, you know, drafting new parts, it just gets a little bit messy with the lines
Okay.
and the
To make it so
crossouts.
you understand it better, this is basically what the exec finance is gonna be charged.
Mhm.
Okay.
And just to kind of close the loop on our previous discussion, jointly recommend salaries for elected officials in accordance with Wisconsin Statute 5922. That's statutory, and that's, so 12, I changed the numbering, but that's what the language was before, and that's what would be appropriate for next month as well, or in the future.
Okay.
My next question is on page 4, line 12. Why is with the county administrator crossed out of that?
You could put that in there. I think, so with the county administrator is not originally in there. I think that might be, I'm not sure what, that might have been an editing issue because it never was in there because you haven't had a county administrator.
Okay.
That could be underlined versus crossed out. You could put that in there.
Okay. To me, that would, based on everything else, that would make
Yep.
sense to be done.
Yeah, and that might have been, to be truthful, just looking at that, because before, right now, that wouldn't have been in there. So you could have that underlined rather
Yeah.
versus crossed out if you'd want.
Anybody else have anything in that area? The next one, dumb question. We're talking about a museum committee, and I've never heard of one. Do we have one?
Not
It
anymore.
was dissolved.
Dissolved.
Yep.
Dissolved that back when I was chair of it. So,
Long time.
And back in
Well, I can't say a long time, but probably at least
2011, probably, 10 or 11.
Okay.
something like that.
So may that be omitted?
Yeah.
See?
Because it got put under university extension. Is that where you are?
Yep, it's still under, that's where we
Yeah,
are.
but it isn't, it's not noted as.
Okay. It's under that committee, but we can remove that.
Well, that brings us to the fun one. Highway, okay. Just seems to me there should be some gray areas we can find in there rather than eliminating all of it. Comparing the paperwork world with the real world functioning, that's. Okay, now let's see, nobody else is speaking up, so I'll keep rambling. Okay, the first one, policy making and oversight, county highway department and highway commissioner. Now, it's left in there that we have oversight of these things. So what determines oversight? For example, right now, we do an audit every month of the bills. This is now eliminated out of here for that. But can we bring that, I'll call it, bring it in the back door in some way that we, rather than eliminate it completely, and I'm picking that one as an easy one for my brain to work with. Purchase and sell county equipment as authorized by the county resolution. The way I read this, if Neil decides he wants to, or needs to, not wants to, needs to, purchase a piece of equipment quickly, like. Supposedly, all he has to do is make a call to the administrator. But what if our administrator is not highway oriented, I'll call it? Says, I gotta look at this for a week. Where and how could the board and committee be involved in this? It looks to me like the committee is pretty much, as far as any functioning of the highway department, the highway committee has pretty much been eliminated from.
There are a couple of ways, and I'm gonna, just so that everybody's on the same page, I'm gonna hand out 83, because I think that's important, so that you can directly see that this, the new provisions are directly within what's in the state statute. Did you get this as well? I might need to get one more. Do you need a copy of this?
I can, if you got an extra one, I'll take it, otherwise.
I brought lots of copies, because
Okay,
I thought
okay.
there might
I
be lots of
I prefer
questions.
paper.
I'm sorry, law offices tend to kill lots of trees.
I got this one, Shannon. Oh, here's the problem, I had two of them. Send that back if somebody needs
And
it.
that extra cup,
There you go. There's an extra one.
okay.
I had two, sorry
Oh,
about that.
do you want to hand that to Paul?
You need one?
The big one?
That's an
Okay,
extra.
so here is this one. Okay. Okay. So if you take a look at, and there is a way, I'm getting there, but it's not the way that it's gonna look like normally.
Okay,
Because now we have a new normal coming, right?
right, yep.
So let's take a look at 8301, and I'm gonna jump around a little bit, but that's, I wanna get to the point as quickly as we can, because we have
Okay.
a lot of content here. So 8301, take a look at subsection 1 where it talks about appointment. Go to C. That's where, once we had a administrator come on board, which is essentially what we have the voter ready, we have a contract that's signed, and an individual that's coming. We are now under C. The last sentence says, I'm skipping some of it. The highway commissioner is subject only to the supervision of the county administrator. So obviously, we're not Milwaukee County. Some of these other exceptions aren't going to apply because of our size. So now we have that. And I want to make sure we're reading all of it together, so
Okay,
just bear with me. So, because there's a lot here. 830, go to the second page, section 83015. Now go to 2. 2A is the powers that the Highway Committee has now. However, once there's administrator, it shifts to 2B. And it says it very clearly within that. The County Highway Committee shall only be a policy-making body determining the broad outlines and principles governing the administration, and the County Highway Commissioner shall have the administrative powers and duties prescribed for the County Highway Committee. I'm going to skip the string, but that's as soon as you had the commissioner. So, a couple of things to keep in mind there. One, this is a story for another day, but I would strongly recommend that this county consider having a procurement ordinance. And again, that's a conversation for a different day, and we can go into the pieces of that, but one of those would be how to follow large purchases, what things need to happen. So that would be most directly.
Can I just throw
Yeah.
something in? We do have a purchasing policy.
Oh, yeah.
But it omits highway and health centers. So that's-
It does, and Highway has a whole lot of statutory responsibilities. They have different programming responsibilities. All of that could be wrapped into it. The creation of that procurement ordinance, the creation of ordinances in general, fall back to the committee. So that's one piece of that. Going through here, the other pieces as to the appointment, and that's I'm going to shift away from the statute, and I'm going to go back to this section, which is the proposed ordinance. And I'm going to go near the end. I'm going to the county administrator. Which is starts on page 13. I'm looking for, there we go. The provision I'm looking for is page 14. And the top of the page says personnel. And I'm looking at paragraph 2, which is, starts on line 7. And that means that all department heads that are required to be confirmed by vote or approval still come back to the county board. So that goes to the commissioner, that goes to health services, it goes to my office. Removal and approval are still county board functions. So there's a lot there where you have to kind of follow the chain. The other piece that I would recommend, and this is something to consider down the line, I would recommend that your Chapter 7 in your county ordinance be beefed up, include more of the duties that are in here, and just some of the things that we are removing. For example, I would recommend 2.06 go into 7, so we consolidate. Here's your entire traffic code. That's in one chapter, not in bits and pieces, kind of here and there. That would be something to consider as well. So that was a lot to your question, so hopefully I answered it.
So, at this point, what do? We ask you to start trying to help us put together what we're saying we want to see, or as near as possible to it, and still. I see this red light blinking. Does that mean there's a call here? I'm not. Or does that just say it's functioning? I don't remember seeing the red light before.
I think the phone rings if a call comes in. I think the phone does ring if a call comes in
Okay.
during a meeting.
Probably a voicemail.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So don't worry.
Okay. Sorry. Sorry.
So
Based, Susan, on your read of everything, this isn't optional, this is necessary.
For most,
This is mandatory.
for most
For
of
us
it.
to follow.
Yeah, for most
Okay.
of it. There were a couple of times in the document that staff haven't gotten because it was directed to the board. The board bears the attorney-client privilege in this regard. I think I mentioned emergency management, there's some discretion there. And you could pull that out if you wanted to and decide what you want that to look like. But highway is not discretionary, human services is not discretionary, health services is not discretionary. You know, there's a board under Chapter 92, there's also a board under 5969. Those specific duties are not discretionary. So I know that's the attorney answer, where it depends, but some of it, we're stuck with what we have, and some of it is there's a little room yet. And again, down the line, I would recommend formalizing and really digging into the procurement part.
And we don't have any leeway in the timing. Okay, we've got an administrator coming February 1. So on February
Actually,
2.
January 31st, hopefully.
Okay. Okay, I understand why you're saying that, yeah. Okay. Whatever that date is, there's no allowance for these things to shift. They all have to be bang right now. Can we say, with highway, for example, with the new administrator coming, there's new rules coming, but we're gonna shift into this over a 3-month period, or anything like that?
So, just thinking it through, there is the technical answer, and the technical answer is the statute's always gonna trump our ordinance, right? And so, state law is going to trump whatever else we might want to do. And so if push comes to shove, that's going to be the answer. Practically, I think the administrator, by her being there, she's the one that has to make the decision, but you could, you know, create some sort of temporary informal mechanism. I don't think it would be part of your ordinance, though.
Okay.
You know, where if an emergency happens and a new snowplow needs to be purchased, you know, maybe that's where a meeting with the highway chair and the administrator happens, and you work it out that way.
Okay.
And there's a lot here. You know, in some ways, I wish we had more time to go through how much is here to really discuss it.
So as this comes through, what I'm looking at is, obviously, if you break it down a little bit and you just take, say, the Board of Health, can you come to a Board of Health meeting and then work through this to delineate our duties as committee members and what duties should go to the administrator? Because I think that moving forward, all of the committees are going to struggle with this initially. And I think if they know what their responsibilities are right off the bat, that may help lots of things going on within the courthouse.
And I think that makes sense. You know, obviously, you know, I'm coming in new to this. The vote happened well before I came here. But in an ideal world, that would have been part of it, and maybe it was, and I just don't know. But I think moving forward to make sure that each committee is acting within the scope of what it can do, I think that's going to have to be part of it. So.
And based on a little conversation we had earlier, you're saying that really the administrator could not appoint the highway committee to take care of certain parts of her duties. She cannot do that.
Right, you can't change the statute.
Okay. Okay. Where are we going from here? Jeannie?
I just have a question. Did the ad hoc committee work with our contractors that we use to do the search for the county administrator, work with us on making sure our ordinances were in line with state statute? I mean, it would seem that that might have been something that committee would have done, because it was all former county administrators and county people involved in that work.
I was not on that committee, so I don't know the
No, we
internal
didn't.
workings, but
We
I'm of
didn't.
the opinion that they.
We're just strictly looking for an administrator.
Yep, yep.
It was my understanding, though, in the beginning, that they were going to help us with the transition, so this would have been a good thing to work on with them.
Mhm.
And while I'm talking, Susan, are you coming to our Human Services meeting today to kind of talk about this with us?
I don't know if it's an agenda item. I
Okay,
can.
is it?
We had to put it on.
Oh, darn.
Sorry.
Okay.
Board of Health either, I'm sure, right? Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, you don't need to come then.
Well, I'm coming, but I can talk to you beforehand.
Okay.
Versus as part of the committee meeting.
And I think once, given the fact it's not optional, I think it would even be more appropriate to come once it's passed, come through the full board and then hit all the committees as we go. Because as it stands right now, I think it would be more important and prudent to pass it and finalize it before. And then as things come up, like you said, working towards some of these other goals, subsets of goals, taking them to the appropriate committees where it's appropriate. So.
Anybody else? It kind of looks like what we need to do is move this on to the full board for approval. I'm not thrilled about that, but as it stands. But I think it sounds like we could, if we work hard enough, we can find ways to get somewheres near to what we really want.
There's some ways to, so the immediate budget part shifted, right? We all know that when
Right.
you have an administrator, that shifts. But one way to think about it is in November, who votes on the budget? It's not the administrator. The minister prepares her budget and submits it, and then the county votes on it. So it's going to shift the immediate authority, but the authority for the budget is still with the county board.
I don't mind missing those 6 days.
More efficient way.
Well, and I think a good administrator works with the committees
Right.
and works, it's basically a hands-on information to all committees and board members on everything that's going on, and then back to its directors. So I think although our positions will become much more policymakers, it is a change and getting used to the
Absolutely.
change. But I can tell you on a smaller entity, even the village of Trempealeau hiring an administrator, it's very appropriate, and a lot of these day in, day out things, and having spontaneous meetings because we need to get something done. I think people will adjust and they will like this much better. That's my experience.
Anybody else? Okay, we started discussing, we didn't ever have a motion to move it forward, did we?
There isn't any.
There isn't, it's just
It's just more like
there's
an
no-
information item, because it's no action.
No
on it.
action.
no
Okay.
action for it.
Agenda says resolution regarding, so, yep.
Did you write a resolution?
It's the same resolution that we've had for a little bit.
Oh, I just asked her about the resolution,
Oh,
and she said it's the same one as we have.
Yeah,
same one
she's
as we
had it
have,
for-
okay. So so this has technically already passed, is that what we're saying?
No, that resolution, the actual resolution needs to get before this body, before there's a vote. So you can't, right now, there is a resolution that's been drafted. This process of hiring the administrator has taken some time.
Right.
That resolution was drafted during this process. It's already in place. But you do need to have a vote on a resolution here to get it to the next committee, or excuse me, to get it to the board.
So you want to, although this agenda doesn't say,
It says resolution.
it doesn't say action or thing like that, like normal.
I think,
I'll make a motion we pass this resolution
I'd second that.
as amended.
Yeah,
it is telling me what the subject is going to be, which is a resolution regarding the updating ordinances for county administrator, so.
this is what we voted for,
Yeah.
and it is what it is. Yeah, we have council to tell us.
Okay, any more discussion?
Just to kind of clean this up, is it
Okay.
possible not to have two pre-meeting meetings, but we could have a pre-meeting just to go through the resolution, so there's a formal document that's being,
Before county board.
yeah, if that's okay.
You're saying set up another
So like
exec,
6:45 next Monday, we have a resolution that says,
probably a
it'll
little
just be,
bit, probably a little bit earlier than that.
I was gonna say.
6 or 6:15 would be my,
and it'll be exactly as presented, except for the removal of the museum committee, and then the underlining where there's a cross-through.
okay.
So just to make sure that we are being as clear as we can be.
Perfect.
Yeah, it seems I
That's
jumped
okay
around.
with
I think I had a
me.
couple other things, but I can't find them right now, so I gotta start over on page 1 before I can, if I come up with it, I'll call you. Or let you know one way or another. Jeannie?
I just have a quick question. Can county board members get a copy of the amended one prior to the meeting, so we aren't sitting there saying, we haven't had time to read this?
Oh, yes,
I mean,
yes.
people need to read things prior to meetings and be prepared.
And this is exactly what was sent
Okay.
out. I think it was December 27th.
Oh, good, okay.
Yeah,
So
you
I've read it, okay.
should have it.
All right,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, and then I can show you
Maybe
those
we need to
changes.
remind people to look at it and please read it before the meeting.
Okay, then I will call for the vote to move this on. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried.
So at that meeting before the county board, it'll just be this item.
Yep, just the resolution, if that's okay, just in case anybody ever looks at it. There's a vote on the resolution on the document itself.
Where do you want to meet?
Right here is fine.
Okay,
What's that?
Right here is fine.
meet down here?
Either that or Wisconsin room. one
Well,
of
is the
the-
full board gonna be here?
No.
No, the full
We're gonna be in the
board.
new one.
Full board's gonna be upstairs. It might not be televised, so but it's still gonna be upstairs.
So this will be just a meeting room.
Just a meeting room. Okay, well, that works, yeah. I'm just,
Either here or the Wisconsin room. We don't,
Wisconsin room's a lot farther to walk yet now.
that's true. It is. That's true.
And why couldn't we meet upstairs?
Well, just in case.
Oh, at the new board meeting?
Yeah.
There's no equipment until
TV's
Thursday.
not ready.
Well, there's no equipment here either.
Yeah, there is.
Well, we're still, this way we're live.
I mean, for, this'll be gone. Oh, you said there's gonna be no camera in either place here for.
Well, I thought you were saying why today?
No, but we're talking
No.
Monday,
Oh.
the 15th, or,
Yeah.
yeah, a week from today. Well, wherever, I guess I'll show up wherever you
Well,
want me to.
let's make it here so we know it. Everybody plan on it right here.
Yep. For the exec finance board.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we said 6?
6 o'clock.
Yeah, I'd say 6, yeah.
Okay, 6 is fine.
Possible sources of funding for the courthouse renovation. Were you just
I
sitting here to
handed out a
listen, or
new-
did you?
This is funny because the what?
Come on, I saw it once.
I saw it on the agenda last month,
What?
Joel, but I didn't see it on the agenda here, is he?
For what?
We had that on last.
Oh, you were last month's quarterly
Last
report?
month I had COVID, so I wasn't here. You guys said some this month.
We'll have to tell them to come next month.
Okay.
And
Sorry, I didn't catch,
Here, Ben.
That's
sorry, I
okay.
didn't catch that
Sorry.
before, Joel.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry about that, Joe.
And Joe, I'm gonna write that. Okay, going back. You all have the sheet with the up to November 30th adjusted numbers. Keeping in mind, we'd also have that 51,000 that's in interest that
Right.
RCU didn't give us, but has now. So that'd put it just a little over 3.7 million. And Lori will be getting the December interest pretty soon. And I'm gonna guess that's gonna be around $60,000 also added.
So about 37.5 or 37,000.
And then from the property meeting, last week, the contingency here was lowered. Because Samuel said it was only gonna be about 400 left in it.
So,
So I dropped that one down.
So you dropped that to the 400 now,
Yeah.
right, okay.
It was 500 something, yeah.
So we should be close to,
Well, we haven't seen bids yet, so we don't know.
yeah, well, that's what we've asked to try to get to.
Through Samuelson and building this new building as energy efficient building, the federal government allows a tax deduction.
Okay.
We being a non-tax entity can't use it, so I signed it over to Samuels can use it. It'll be significantly less, but literally, there could have been, if it had been a private building, it could have been $500,000 or more.
Oh, really? Yeah.
It's 500,000 for 100 square feet, and this is 111,000 square feet. So it could have been a $500,000 tax break, so they can use it for their purposes.
They can
And-
lower our bill.
And lower the cost of the additional funds, anything they get, but it'll be significantly less than that 500,000, because, you know, just to lower their taxes, not ours.
Right.
But anything they get out of it, they claim they're gonna pass it on in savings to the.
Well, there isn't anything we can really do here with this now. It
No,
is what
not
it
until
is.
they get,
It's just information.
Other than just let.
these are just possible. I think I wrote possible. Yeah, possible
Right.
funds available.
Yep.
So,
So once we get a number for the remodel, then we look at it and see how this compares
And
to
that's
that.
supposed to come in February, they're supposed to have,
Okay.
put it in property meeting.
Okay. Any other questions on that part? On the funding? Discussion/action on a resolution to add 2 holidays and funding for such.
I missed that part last time, I don't know where that came from.
First of all, there's no resolution because we are not sure how you want that presented. We have time. The Personnel and Bargaining Committee recommended 2 dates, June 19th and November 11th, of the 4 that we could possibly select from for additional holidays to close the courthouse. Courts are not open on any of those 4 days, so it dovetails into what else is going on at that time. The reason I can't do a resolution is it's difficult to pin down what the exact amount of money involved. The reason it's appearing before you is because there would be a small cost to the organization should you grant closing the courthouse 2 days. Dispatchers, jailers, and deputies would still have to report to work that day, so that half-time increment would be the additional cost. This was initiated as Personnel and Bargaining and Exec Finance during the budget process directed us to find a way to increase benefits at no cost. And this was one of the ideas we came up with, worked with the electeds who were concerned if we just added 2 floating holidays. You know, Paul's office by statute has to be open, Lori's office has to be open, Rose's office has to be open. It's difficult for them to staff if the courthouse is closed and you give their people more time off. So it was suggested that we go with holidays. So Personnel and Bargaining recommended 2. I talked to Stacy, she's worked the numbers on the last few holidays, and it basically comes down to about $3,000 per day. So it would cost around $6,000 for you to approve this, but I can't get the exact number because the new building might require more deputies or more jailers or what have you on those days that the courthouse is closed. So I have to ask how you'd like to proceed if I was going to bring a resolution back next month.
Just my first question on the cost. So the people that get called into work basically get screwed over because they don't get holiday pay, they have to work it for half-time?
They get time and a half.
I know they get time and a half, but they'd get full-time to stay home. So they're only getting half-time extra. Is that correct?
That's every holiday.
Okay.
Every holiday, somebody has to come to work because it's a 24/7, 365 part of the operation. They get a time and a half for the 8 hours they work on a holiday. So it's about, yeah, like I said, that halftime is the difference because everybody's still getting paid for their 8 hours on the
They're
holidays.
gonna have to get their annual work done with 2 less days to do it, basically.
Correct, and there would be 2 days that there are no services available to citizens coming to the county. But on those 2 days, normally, there's no court business allowed, so much of what citizens are doing wouldn't be happening anyway.
I know the thinking is that it'd be a benefit that they would love to have, but, you know, we talk about losing people to other counties for other reasons. Will this give us an up on other counties as far as vacation days? So it truly would be a benefit, my thinking.
I think the thinking involved are mostly from people who've been in government for a long time. And I remember a time when I started out that government employees definitely had better benefits than everybody. And it was a thing you heard about all the time. But I think most of us who are in government service today recognize that that's not the case anymore. So in order to differentiate ourselves as an employer that you should come and be working for, you have to come up with something, and we can't come up with pay. We're not competing on pay, really never have. I don't know, Paul's been in longer than me, but I can never remember a time where public sector employees were paid more than private sector. But you can compete on benefits, and this is one of those arenas that feels like if you have more time off and you are cutting services, you're doing it uniformly. You're not picking one particular agency and picking on them and cutting that service. I mean, certainly those are things that are going to be coming to the table in the coming years, because basically our revenues and levy limits have been flat for over a decade. At some point, the system's going to break, and you're not going to be able to provide all the services you have been providing. So this is just one of those things that felt like an easy win. Let the staff know you love them, and then move on.
Just a minute, I have a question for Corp Counsel or whoever. Is this something we could do on a 1 year? Say, for 2024, we're going to give these 2 holidays, but unless further action is taken, they would go away the next year. Is that something we could do?
It is something you could do if you set up
Okay.
the motion that way.
Okay.
What's your thinking, why?
Well, right now, we've said we don't have money to do the raises we'd like to. So for 24, we'll give you 2 more holidays, and then next year we'll see what happens. What can we do next year? Do we extend this and make it permanent? Do we extend it 1 year? Do we give a raise and take it away again? To me, it would leave an option to do other things in the following year.
I think that would be prudent. If you wanted to go 2 years for planning purposes and then revisit all the holidays after that, you could do that, or you could do 1 year on just these 2 and revisit whenever you'd like. That seems acceptable.
I think that would make some sense. My one concern, you can do that. There's not a legal reason why you can't do that. I think Tim has already said that he's tried to pick the legal holidays where the courthouse is already closed, so that's the only real legal issue. It's more of the planning issues down the line, and then maybe, during that 2-year period, HR could look at the rest of the surrounding counties and the holidays and things like that, so you could have that information to compare.
So why, if we're looking at it as if it's an employee benefit, why would we choose the days? Why wouldn't we just give an additional 16 hours of vacation time for the next 2 years to all employees and let them choose, rather than worry about when the courthouse is closed, when it's open, who's here, who's not here? Allow them to utilize it as they see fit. That's more of an impactful benefit, I think, unless there's
I will agree
some other
with
reason.
the county supervisor there. In fact, I'd love it if you would give us more vacation time. I'd be all in favor. However, as stated prior, there are offices that are by statute must remain open that have 1 or 2 or 3 people in them. And when their staff who've been here 20, 25 years, they've already got lots of days off, and you give them more holidays, that's more of a headache for those electeds. And then if the courts are open on those days, then that's a problem for the court system as well, because then the DA has staff, the courts, clerk of courts, they all have staff. They would have to find, now I've got more people with time off, and the problem you deal with there.
Yeah.
Jeannie, point?
As part of the personnel bargaining committee that made the decision, we didn't just choose these days randomly. There was thought put into them. November 11th is, as you know, Veterans Day. June 19th is Juneteenth. We're trying to look at this county as being more inclusive, and we want to encourage people of color to come and work here. And
Right.
people might say, "Oh, look at Trempealeau County. They're not living in the dark ages.
That
They're actually
wasn't
honoring-"
my thought process. My thought process went
Right,
with
but I just
as
wanted
an
to-
employee benefit, and I think we all do know what those dates are.
I just
I
wanted you
do.
to know why we picked those days. They weren't just random.
No, I mean, thoughtful, good days, not any issue there. Mine was the employee, as an employee benefit. So back to what you said, Tim, wouldn't these departments still need approval to take a day off, whether it be a vacation day or whatever, no matter how it's set up, whether you designate the day.
That's true.
There's still the county, the courthouse employees and they're still gonna need approval and permission to take any day.
Correct. But again, in my discussions with department heads and electeds was 2 more floating holidays, and I'm going to have staffing issues. I currently have staffing issues. They wanted to find a way. Could you do it so that my small department doesn't get punished? Some of the larger departments can absorb this and plan and schedule around it, but those 1 to 4 person departments really do have a difficult time when we keep adding more time off. So if you just close the courthouse, it makes it easier for them. I appreciate you wanting to give us more benefit, and I think that's great, but in this instance, I'm just asking for this. And there is no action on this today because I need direction on how you would like the numbers presented in a resolution. Because I'll be bringing this back next month.
Personally, I could go along with the 2 holidays on, I'll call it a trial basis, but it's giving something this year when we didn't have money to do anything else, with something that we can afford this year. But I'd like to look at it closely in the following year or years. to see.
Paul, when we do resolutions, do they put time limits on them? You can? Okay, so,
Sunsets.
so if that's, I will, can I produce multiple resolutions for a consideration when I bring them before exec finance?
As long as they're properly noticed, we can talk about that afterwards.
Okay, I will discuss that with
You
corporation counsel.
mentioned the 2-year. I think you're more in favor of the 1.
One, just this year, and then the next budgeting cycle, here again, we got an administrator coming in, maybe she can find money that we weren't able to find, and do other things, or maybe this is the way we have to go. But I wouldn't, I'm not interested in putting it in for more than 1 year at this point.
I can produce a resolution on that, and are we required to have exact to the penny numbers when we bring a resolution before exec finance?
It's better that way. But I mean, if you do, even thousands or something like that, that's what I'm gonna transfer.
Yeah, it'd be close.
Whether it's
Okay, I will review this with Stacy in Paul's office, and we'll get a number that we feel we can stand behind, and we'll put a time limit on it as requested, and bring the resolution back next month, if that's okay with you.
Sounds good here?
Sounds good.
Thank you for your time.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Discussion/action regarding the additional American Transmission Company environmental impact funding. That amounted to, what was it, 120?
$162,150.
I was gonna say 26, I had the numbers turned around.
In your packet, that should be there, and it also tells how it was derived. Our first payment was only an estimate. Then there's also in that, the guidelines for how it can be spent.
Are you looking at me?
I know, because mostly it is parks, conservancy, and wetland programs. Specific examples include park improvement projects, purchase of property for conservancy of environmentally significant site, or improvement of wetlands, purchase of additional wetlands, or return of land to wetlands designations. Additional programs could prevent the introduction of or limit the spread of invasive species of plants or animals, or other such programs to limit adverse impacts of high voltage transmission lines, or compensate for adverse impacts for such lines. Now I already forgot, what was the amount we got? It was 1 point something.
Yeah, if you recall, the initial CapEx funding was $1.2 million, and every penny of that money went to environmental programs. And there was a committee that was set up and RFPs were sent out to all For example, the Rod and Gun Clubs and the National Park in Trempealeau, they got $400,000 to help build their educational center. And in the RFPs, we asked people to have matching funds. And I'm here representing the park as we would like to put our arms around this money. We have an enormous plan for the park for the next 10 years. And this money would go a long way to help with the projects that we have in mind. And it's, I believe the park improvement was like the number one that you read off, Paul, on the list, or close.
Oh, parks, yeah.
Yes.
Park improvement projects.
And we have many park improvement projects, and this would really help us.
I guess it makes sense to me, instead of forming a committee and trying to figure out where we're gonna go, you start,
And I don't believe the
I
parks.
mean, not that 162,000 is a little different when you had 1.2 million, I
Right.
guess, yeah.
I believe, I'm not sure the parks got any of the CapEx money in the beginning.
Yeah, you did.
We did? It wasn't much.
I think
'Cause
it was
we've-
the last.
We've never had a lot of money coming into the park. And actually, this is just an FYI, because there's been so much focus on the park in the last couple of years, and it was very much utilized during COVID because people went to parks and went outside. People are becoming very interested in Petrick Park. For example, on Friday, we had just a $5,000 gift given to us. So when people see the park growing and it becoming a place that's going to be of great use to everybody and keeping our focus on kids, people become more interested in the park, so.
And make it, this will move towards making it more financial stable, I think.
Right,
Yeah.
this would really help. You know, and
Yeah.
one of our long-range plans is to really get back into supporting our 4-H kids, and we've looked at how can we build, or how can maybe we use that second shelter as a place for kids
Right.
to stay, which did happen years ago. So we have some long-range plans, and this would go in a long way to help.
And I think Jeannie's presentation is good. I think a lot, maybe most, maybe all deserve to go in that direction, but I question, this has not been available. How many people in other, for example, land use and any of their conservation that might fit this, have they had an opportunity to look and make a request or anything like that? I mean, before we jump, that's all I'm asking.
I think we've talked about it with the Parks PTED committee, and there hasn't been a request coming from conservation. A lot of the original CapEx money went to conservation programs, and a lot went to rod and gun clubs to enhance their areas and to make, one of the things we would really like to do is have a ADA playground for kids, because right now the one we have is not. We really need to have the park become more inclusive to everybody that comes.
And I'm just, and I don't know, I'm just off the top of my head, I mean, what, a couple days ago when I saw that, that's the first I heard that the additional money came. So my question is, has that area had an opportunity to say, wait a minute, here's something else that we didn't think about originally, or anything like that?
That might be all right, that we're on, out to the public today.
Right, yeah, you know.
Maybe somebody will come forward and we might have missed something.
You know, to have 40 groups ask for this kind of money, that's a little,
No.
hopefully that's not what happens, but I
We
was,
had, well, the big one, we had 50
Right, yeah.
groups, and they gave 24?
Yeah, I think 21.
Or
Between 21,
20-something.
between 20 and 25 went out. But if we start, saying, okay, they're gonna get this, they're gonna get this, we'll end up with nothing back at the park.
That's one way we could eliminate that, is just give it to the park right away and be done with it.
And when you give money to the park,
For that, I'm gonna take that.
when you give money to the park, you're supporting conservation, you're supporting families, you're supporting kids, you're supporting 4-H, you're supporting the grade schools, the 6th graders at Whitehall come every year. I mean,
this money goes a long way to support a lot of people in Trempealeau County, especially children.
So maybe I need to just ask the question after the meeting, but my question is where, because this was before me, where did the original CapEx money go towards? Because I know of communities receiving CapEx funds and it's not environmental.
That was the rule with CapEx. The original CapEx money had to be environmental projects, and they had to be approved.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, and we know that 400,000
It
of,
literally could have gone for highway. I checked with the state and they would allow it to.
I don't think so.
Yes, you could have. You could have. I checked it out and you could have, we could have used it for highway, but
'Cause we
we
looked at
chose
it.
not to.
Okay, but I think that that's not correct, but.
but I know like the Gillsville Elementary, for some kind of gardens they did.
There were several
God.
Rod and Gun Clubs money, the Turkey Federation
Yeah.
got some money.
Turkeys Unlimited.
That garden is still active today.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Just-
Things like that, yeah.
Just off the top of my head, and I don't have information, didn't research it, but I know that environmental land use is looking at the Trempealeau Lakes area with the invasive species. And I don't know if they have all the funding they need. I
They-
don't know. I'm just,
they
that's
do
one
not.
thing that came to mind
And
for me.
And I also like Jeannie's presentation, and I like the thought of it going, obviously, to something that not only helps and improves the environment via education and camping and whatnot, but it's also very connected to the public. And I like that thought process. The lakes, yes, down in Trempealeau, because it's a specialized lakes area, yes, they are in need of funding too. They're always looking into trying to find grants. But to John's point, it's, yes, we could get, there's always a need for this money. And I think given the fact that it is a county park,
The only county park.
the only county park, I think,
Well, yeah, there are two.
I certainly don't think it would be a bad idea to appropriate that money to Petrick.
Specifically for the park.
Specifically for the park.
And remember, when it goes to the park, it goes to the canoe landings on the Trempealeau River, it goes to our prairie, it could go to the water feature we want to make, it could go to many things that impact the environment and water. Building a bridge, maybe, to use the other 30
This would be
acres.
park improvements, though, not
Right.
additional staff. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can't use it for people.
Okay.
But there isn't a resolution today, so we won't act on it today.
That's,
Well, I make a motion, we just designate those funds to go there and resolution can come later to pass,
Right.
to go to county board.
Yep.
That they come up
Okay.
with a resolution.
I'd
make
second that.
motion.
we have a motion and second to send that money to Peter for the park
Park improvements.
improvements. And a second by Bridget. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, thank you,
Thank you, I'd be happy to
thank
take
you.
that also. Yep, appreciate it.
What's next?
ARPA funds update.
There is no change on that, other than we are now in 2024, so you have to, by the end of the year, designate that money someplace. The 1.7 that we haven't allocated yet.
Yep.
And right now, it's in that possible funds
Yep,
for the
yep,
renovation.
yep.
But I don't know if you want to designate it that way right now.
I think
or-
we just leave it set till we see
There you
the
go.
bid numbers.
This will be back on again.
Okay. FEMA?
I talked to John. I said, I think this one, he doesn't think we're ever going to get any more money, but I am hopeful that we have not been reimbursed the administration, and we're supposed to get that. So I mean,
That was
there is
$90,000. They ripped us off.
But it's to be determined.
How much was it?
90,000, yeah.
Yeah, but that was
So
on,
I'm
that was
still
on our
hopeful.
original request. If they decide to administration on what they paid us, it'll be what, 10,000?
$1.25.
Well, and the other question was, you were gonna contact the company and find out why, with that large amount of funding, why were we rejected? Because we were to the
Oh, yeah,
understanding we were
went-
supposed
We
to.
went through that, and they
Went through.
actually did go back to the feds and appeal the things that we had sent in, but to no avail.
So they said anyway, I don't. One of the things they sent in our report that we were closed, and that we would never close the courthouse, but they had it in their deal that we closed the courthouse. And that's not correct.
Okay, well, discussion / action on LATCF grant funds.
That's that 100,000 again that,
Okay, that we've just, last month, we just stuck it in the possible.
that's where it's sitting in
Yep.
the possible funds for renovation.
Right.
And that has generated about $3,600 in interest so far.
Okay, okay. Unless somebody else objects, I'm recommending we leave it in the possible renovation fund, or category, not fund. Hearing nothing, I guess that's what we'll do. Date and time for the next regular meeting.
February 5th? 8:30?
Don, when are we in Madison?
Oh,
We are
No,
in
but-
Madison that that
That's-
night.
That night. Okay,
no
okay.
problem at all then.
Right, yep, okay,
Long day.
yep.
A longer night.
And don't forget the meeting on board night,
6 o'clock one
6 o'clock
on the
Yep.
15th?
I'll get that posted, yeah.
Okay.
And it's just gonna be that one item.
Before you go, I just want to thank you. Considering the money goes to the park, that really means a lot.
Well, you can have a resolution that goes to county board,
Yep.
so they can approve it.
Yeah, I don't have a
Resolution that we designated it so it can be passed at county board.
Did you say adjourn?
Are you
I didn't, I closed this and was about to say adjourned.
Oh, okay. I just didn't want to leave.
Feel
No, I
free.
remember if you said it or not.
I was checking the
I
screen.
wasn't pushing you.
Okay, that's fine. Adjourned at 10:23, it looks like.
Okay.